No intro? Okay. All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin. Across from me, we have BJ Lisco. Joe Danier is going to join us here in a little bit. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. You may not know it's May based on our February temperatures outside. I literally busted out a winter jacket today on May 22nd. What is it? 49 degrees and rainy outside. Miserable. So next week at this time, hopefully I'm at the Memorial in 80-degree weather down in Columbus, but we'll see how that all goes. With Ohio weather, you never truly know what you're getting. So from this day going forward, Ohio State football kicks off against Texas in 100 days from today in the Shoe in Columbus, August 30th. That game, still, the time has not been released. It will be aired by Fox, but it might get pushed to an evening game. We'll see about that. With that also said, Youngstown State kicks off in 98 days from today, right here, downtown Youngstown, at Youngstown State University against Mercyhurst. So that is 98 days away. Let's get into, well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit what's going to be on the show. So we're going to start with the NBA playoffs, some craziness once again from the Indiana Pacers last night against the New York Knicks. We're going to talk a little bit about Michigan, the scandal, and all that stuff that's going on with them, the NCAA ruling that's coming on June 6th and June 7th, or at least the hearings that will lead to the ruling. We're going to get into a good amount of stuff in TV. Now, this is the time of year, the sports calendar is busy, but a lot of the Cleveland sports, especially right now, are a little bit checked out, like the Browns. You got some OTAs coming next week. We have the Guardians. They're kind of playing like middling ball right now, and the Cavs obviously eliminated. So we will still check in with those teams every single week, but this is the time of year we can branch out, get into some more news and notes, and we're going to get into some TV stuff and especially the show Black Mirror. We're going to talk about that a little later in the program. So let's start again with the NBA playoffs. And right now, you got the Final Four in the NBA. In the Eastern Conference, you got the Pacers and the Knicks. And in the Western Conference, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, BJ, I don't know how much of the NBA you've been following, how much you've been watching, but I'm sure at least you're in tune with what's been going on with the Indiana Pacers and the craziness there. So your thoughts on just like kind of that game last night and like some of the, deficits they've overcome in the last couple weeks.
Well, I'm happy that somebody blew a bigger lead than the Cavs. So that's the best thing about that. I mean, the Pacers are really good. They're catching fire at the right time.
Yeah.
If I had to predict, I thought they were going to win this series anyway, although the way New York started last night, they really blew that game.
Yeah.
So that's going to be hard for them to kind of overcome. But if I had to predict right now, I would say it's going to be Thunder Pacers. And I think that I'm still going Thunder to win it all. I think the Pacers, eventually it's going to catch up with them, that they're not quite on the level talent-wise. They're just super hot right now, but I think they're going to get past New York because I think they are actually the better team of those two. But yeah, I would have to. It's interesting to see. You know what I mean? They held by fire. I know you hate. I know you're not a fan of the Pacers.
No, not a ton of them. I do like. I respect Siakam. I really like him. I really like TJ McConnell, who comes off the bench for them, and I like Naismith, who has developed into a really good player. But there's a ton of guys on that team I don't like. Mathurin and Halliburton and a few others. Miles Turner, not a big fan of. But they are, I think, to your point, them and the Thunder, roster-wise, 1 through 12 or 1 through 14 or whatever you want to say, they are probably the deepest teams in the NBA. They literally play everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's usually goes against what most teams in the playoffs do. Regular season, you play 10, 11 guys, try to keep your guys fresh for the playoffs, and then you maybe go to a rotation of about 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. They have kind of just stuck with the philosophy that has got them there. And you can see that Rick Carlisle for the Pacers and the OKC coach have really just stuck with that philosophy, and it has worked for them. But if you did not see it last night, I think the Knicks were up by at least 14, if not 16 in the fourth quarter. And they had a huge lead. In the final minute, the Knicks were actually up by 9 points. 9 points. And I shared a couple stats last week. This stat's even crazier. Before last night, teams that trailed by 9 points in the final minute of the fourth quarter or overtime of a playoff game were 0 for 1,414 since 1998. Last night, the Pacers got the first win of that, which is absolutely insanity.
How is that not like normally you see stats like that and it's like, oh, and then a Cleveland team is attached to
yes.
It's
well,
nice that it's not Cleveland for
the Knicks
the Browns especially.
we are all we've been snake bit so many times that I think we're almost like, do you get like numb to that stuff anymore?
You almost expect it as a Browns or as a Cleveland fan, mostly a Browns fan. You almost expect it, and then the Cavs this year too. But I mean, I thought the Cavs were a year away anyway, so I think next year they're going to be solid. I don't know if they really need to do anything in that roster. I think it's good, but yeah.
I think so too. And there's going to be a lot of speculation about what the Cavs should do. They're a great regular season team. I heard somebody refer to them yesterday as a paper tiger. And if I was a Cavs player, I would have been pissed off to hear that because, without, making some excuses, they had Darius Garland was hobbled in that series. DeAndre Hunter missed game 2 and basically had a sprained shooting wrist the whole series. Evan Mobley had a high ankle sprain, which is very difficult to play on, missed game 2 as well. And game 2 was the one where they didn't have Garland, Mobley, or Hunter. And then they all, the Cavs had that big lead and the Pacers obviously came back and won that. But, you flip that series a little bit. It's a lot of what ifs and what could have been. Boston is now out. That you're probably your biggest challenge, and Tatum is now his Achilles. That's going to keep him out a full calendar year minimum. So the East is right there to be won again next year. So the Cavs stand pat. They're going to be right back in this position next year with a chance to overcome and beat some good teams. So I think to your point, the Pacers are really good. The Knicks are pretty good. And there's some other really good teams there. But there's no reason the Cavs can't compete to win the East next year.
You had the best record in the NBA this year. And you were great against good teams. You just caught injury bug at a bad time,
and a Pacers team playing
a super hot Pacers team that you couldn't afford to give up a game to, whatever, and they did, and that kind of threw the whole thing off. So
exactly,
it's not like you have to blow up the roster. I don't think they need any big pieces. Like they're good enough to get to the NBA Finals.
I agree, 100%.
So
I agree.
Give them another year. Now they have the sort of learning experience. Play more of a chip on your shoulder, and then
I think they need to bring in some sort of badass dude though, like somebody that's gonna, even if it was playing Tristan Thompson 5 minutes in that series, knock somebody on their ass or a hard foul, or when the thing that like has got a lot of pushback is Jared Allen. Jared Allen has been a great regular season player, borderline all-star. I think he's actually made the all-star team twice. But when there was that altercation with Mathurin and Hunter, and Hunter goes up and pushes him down, you can stop and watch the film. Jared Allen just stands there. The rest of the team goes over there. So it's like he is the nicest guy in the NBA, which is awesome. But you also want like a little bit. We have a really nice team, talent-wise and guys on and off the court. But you almost kind of need to bring in somebody that won't wreck the culture, but that will also like be a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Well, they had to beat the shit out of the Pistons had to beat the shit out of Michael Jordan before the Bulls became the Bulls. You know what I mean? Like those series, then the physicality taught him how to basically taught him how to what he needed to do to get to the next level. So maybe, like I said, this could be a learning experience for the Cavs. But I wouldn't mind seeing him bring, a Bill Laimbeer type in just to come in and beat the hell out of everybody and throw his weight around. So,
exactly. Somebody that's just gonna like, be a little bit of an intimidating factor for the Cavs need that defensive presence. Evan Mobley's obviously the defensive player of the year, but he's not scaring anybody like tough guy wise. So we'll see what they do. Hopefully there's some moves to be made there. But if you have not seen it last night, again, the Knicks were up 121 to 112 with 52 seconds to go. The Cavs were up 119 to 112 with 46 seconds to go. And the Bucks were up 118, 111 with 34 seconds to go. Those are leads that teams do not lose. They don't lose. The Indiana Pacers have won 3 such games in each of their first 3 series, and it's just unheard of. Like, you do the math on this, you multiply that out, the percentage chance, it's like 1 in a billion, probably maybe even higher. So I don't know what they're doing. They're, like BJ said, they've got a really good team. I don't think they have any great players. I think Halliburton's really good, but they have a bunch of really good players. And like you said, they caught fire at the right time. So we'll see. But like, you think the Pacers get to the finals?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're better. I think they're better than the Knicks anyway. I think the Knicks have been kind of riding some sort of good, some goodwill, and I think the Knicks have been overplaying. I think how good they are. I think the Knicks are a very good team, but another team that might be better in another year or another piece or two as well. But I think the Pacers are the better team out of that, and they're obviously the hotter team out of that. But yeah, I don't see them getting past the Thunder, though.
I agree. I think Oklahoma City is the team to beat this year, and it's their title to lose. So, all right, we'll close the book on the NBA there today. Let's move on to the looming Michigan possible punishment, which could be coming as soon as June 6th or June 7th. I know that is at very least the hearing for some of these dates, but let's go over some statistics here. So this is Michigan under Jim Harbaugh. This was going into I believe this was the 2021 season. His record versus Ohio State, 0-5. His record versus Michigan State, 3-3. His record versus ranked teams, 11-16. His record versus top 10 teams, 2-12. 0 Big Ten championships. That was all pre-Connor Stalions and the cheating scandal. Connor Stalions comes in. And let's also look real quick, too, at the spread versus, and a lot of people say, well, what does that have to do with it? It's a sign of like respect for what the public thinks of your program versus another program. And so from 2015 to 2020, Michigan was about 45.5% against the spread. During the cheating, and then last year they were 6-7 against the spread, so about 46%. So pretty consistent numbers there, right around 46%. From 2021 to 2023, here's where I think this opens some eyes. Michigan was not just a really good team record-wise; they were also 28, 13-2 against the spread, which is 68%. BJ, I know you dabble in some betting here and there. What do those numbers tell you about the possible Michigan scandal there? Anything?
Well, you know what Jesse the Body Ventura's life motto is, don't you?
Once you say it, I know it, but I offhand no.
Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
Oh yeah,
always cheat. That's his wrestling persona motto. But yeah, it's a little shady there. They got pretty good there. I don't know if. So, look, I'm coming at this from a neutral place. Do you think Michigan did a lot more than a lot of other programs do, or do they just get caught, or they just dumb enough to get caught with it?
I think that's a really good point. My pushback to that is, I know some like Reggie Bush. Let's go back to Reggie Bush, where he has paid for like his mom or his dad to have a house and stuff, and that did get him on campus, which enhances your team. He obviously won a Heisman Trophy. Let's talk about Cam Newton, who I believe Auburn threw his family a bunch of money so his dad could open a church and stuff like that. To me, obviously, that's breaking the rules. At the time, in NIL era, now you can do that stuff all legally. But at the time, that was breaking the rules. Those teams should have been punished, and they were. Those players should have been punished, and they were. But to me, on the field cheating is different because, and I guess from a former coach's perspective, we used to try to advance scout teams as much as we could. You watch film, you'd sometimes go to games, you'd kind of look to the bench to see if, there was like a couple words or, something they'd call out to kind of give you a mental advantage or to try to relay that information to your players so they might know what's coming. In the Michigan situation, to me, just going back and watching, especially the 2022 game, that was the game that really stood out for me. This is against Ohio State, not taking any other opponents. And people know I'm going to be biased coming at this. I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm an Ohio State alum and all that stuff. But the 2022 game, CJ Stroud was even saying, like, we threw out formations that were never even shown. We never even shown. And then, but like Michigan, they did one that was a 4 wide package, 1 running back. And then Michigan, and we're talking the wide receivers out there were Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Ibuka, another, so you got 3 first-round draft picks out there at wide receiver. Michigan's going one-on-one coverage, and then they just sell out against the run, and it happened to be a run play. They're like, we never called that the whole year. So to me, this is just my opinion. Somebody out there that knows football and the scouting of it better than me. But if you can eliminate 50% of runner pass, and you can, your defenders, your linebackers, your safeties can cheat up and get in the box, I think that really opens up, like, you still have to make the play, but you also don't have to think about it. You just know where the ball is going and you go make the play. So just my opinion. Any thoughts on that?
I think if you're coming at it from the perspective of teams playing Michigan, I think you need to get better at disguising what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been that aspect. I mean, in baseball, guys trying to steal signals, like everybody trying to have sort of this extra little bit of an advantage. However,
the Astros in particular,
yeah,
who won the World Series.
Yeah, the Astros was a little bonkers, but yeah, so there's a little bit of that. I think it's sort of like, I don't know, where do you draw the line? Like, what's too much of trying to get the advantage? Because it's a fine line you walk. It's like it's like some gamesmanship you could call it, or which is a nicer way to say it, trying to cheat, whatever. Like some of that's tolerated, but I don't know where exactly you draw the line at that. But,
yeah, and that's fair. And Joe and I have had this conversation. He's like, you're taught to attack the gray areas. If it's a rule, but it's kind of like, it's not really, like, you attack that, like, in any advantage you got. And what was the quote again? The wrestling quote?
Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat.
I think they brought him in to speak to the 2021 team preseason, and then again in 22 and 23. But no, that's a good quote. And there's that old adage: if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, in sports, kind of thing. But it's maybe a little bit of sour grapes on my part. I get that. But again, if it's breaking the rules, it's breaking the rules. I saw John Navarre, the former Michigan quarterback, basically saying, like, they should have thrown Tressel in prison and stuff for protecting his players from the tattoo gate. That was players getting tattoos, trading for merchandise they had already won.
Right.
Which that looks so petty compared to, like, some of the NIL stuff now. We've had YSU football players in here that are getting paid to just go out and, like, go to football camps, or, like, go out and eat at a restaurant or something like that. And it's like, it's a whole different world now. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot. A lot to add to that.
I mean, it kind of is what it is. So we'll close the book on that situation. BJ, Joe, welcome.
Thank you.
Got some Buffalo Trace. I broke open some of the Bardstown. So real quick on the Cleveland Browns situation. The Cleveland Browns, like, the mayor, it's all a done deal that the Browns are moving to Brook Park, which is great. You like that?
I do.
I do too. I'm a fan of it. If I'm going to be watching a crappy team, at least I want to be in a nice climate filled environment. Like here's a perfect example. It is May 22nd. I look outside. It is 49 degrees and rainy. It's like, I don't want to sit out in that in 4 hours. I don't want to have to walk a half hour from my car to my seats and be outside in 4 hours. So hopefully we can put a winning product with a nice stadium in the suburbs. And, it's 15 miles from downtown. It's not like we're moving it to Youngstown. It's not like we're moving it to Toledo or Columbus. It's in the same county, in Cuyahoga County. So I don't know. And I think the mayor, we've talked about plenty of mayors on this show. I think the mayor, Justin Bibb, he basically said there's more important things and priorities in the Browns. He's right. That's true. Yep. But they're also addressing it from a reactive, not a proactive. They could have developed that lakefront years ago, and they sat on their hands. They've done nothing. And now they're saying, we're going to redevelop it. Well, yeah, no shit. You should have done that 25, 30 years ago. So luckily, better late than never, at least from
a city has to work really hard to be able to keep those things in their vicinity. They got to have state of the art.
Yep.
I mean, think of the people who have to sell season tickets or tickets in general, and selling a dome stadium versus whatever. I mean, that's a huge selling point.
Yeah. Well, and I way back when you and I went to a Browns game, and you had season tickets at the time, and you had pretty good parking spots, and we still had to walk 20 minutes, to get where we're going. And the downtown of Cleveland is awesome. It's awesome. It really is great, but it is not set up great for football and to get in and out very conveniently.
Yeah, and very few big cities are.
Sure.
I mean, it's a bitch no matter where you go.
Right, exactly.
So, but that's a huge selling point for the fan experience. If you're looking out for getting in easily, leaving easily, downtown is not a great place to get in and out of after a game.
I agree. So, hopefully what they should have done 25 years ago when they moved the Browns back to Cleveland was, put the infrastructure in that gets that stuff done, that makes things a little bit easier. And hopefully they have a good plan for Brook Park, because, that stadium's going to be there for the next 25 years after that. And hopefully it's going to be state of the art dome. You're bringing in other events, stuff like that. So.
Is it weird that you remember when that stadium was built, and I still even think of it as a new stadium?
I know.
And it's weird that it's antiquated in my lifetime.
Well, and it's the old municipal stadium was built in the early 30s. They were trying to attract the Olympics, I think. So they were building this huge 80,000, and that thing was a relic by the time they knocked it down in the mid 90s. But we had fond memories of that because the Browns were good, and I know you and I were really young when the Browns were really good, but it's I still remember going to some of those games and the atmosphere and probably hearing stuff you shouldn't have heard as a younger kid, which still happens now at this new stadium, but it was more of in a positive way back then. So
and the bench seating, that's what I remember about sitting a whole game on high school bleacher benches in the dog pound was a memory I'll never forget.
And then in 95, or I think it was 95 was the last year of that stadium, people just ripping out the seats and taking them with them, and they should. Good for them. So
many fond memories.
Let's go to a couple news and notes here around the sports world. So the push, the brotherly shove, tush push, remains in effect. You happy with that?
Man, it didn't happen often, but it is going to get people injured, and I hate that because it's so dumb if injury is the result of it.
I agree with that. My thing against it, I can have the devil and the angel on both shoulders on this one. So I'm gonna just take it down the middle. My reason for it is hey, they developed something that teams cannot stop. They basically playing 1st and 9 every possession because they know they have a free yard on 4th down. So if they can get to 4th and 1, it's automatic for them. Jalen Hurts, I saw a stat, used the tush push on 60% of his career rushing touchdowns. So if they get to the 1 yard line, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think it was stopped one time by the Buccaneers. But to go against it, like you said, injuries, it's something that it's not really a natural thing. It's more of a rugby scrum than a football play. So I don't know. I could go either way on it. I saw 22 teams voted to keep it. Only 10 teams voted to banish it.
Did you think that's the way it was going to go down?
I actually thought it might be more 50-50. But it doesn't surprise me.
So, like, how would you officiate that? What would constitute a tush push and not just a goal line, run up the middle? What do you have to do to qualify for the tush push?
I mean, I think it's coming, but then you probably put two, like a running back or tight end.
So they would just disallow you to give two tailbacks back there,
I guess, or any.
That would be weird.
You maybe just put your biggest guy behind you and push him, or like, you remember that one where we said where Mike Leach had that thing where he handed to the smallest guy and throws. So
that's next.
That is coming next.
Yep,
so if they ban the push, they're going to go with the slingshot.
Yep.
In honor of
the disposable guy, the 53rd man, weighs 73 pounds, and all he does is fly.
That's hilarious. Hey, that'll like one of those jockeys in the Kentucky Derby or something. Maybe they'll get an NFL contract.
Yeah, right. So. The little dude from Ocean's 11, that real compact.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. He's the guy that was doing the backflips into the safe and stuff.
Have him do a double backflip over the lineman. That would be sweet.
It's an equal opportunity employment league too.
That's it.
So you get everybody involved. All right. If I say making the way in the world today takes everything you got, does that remind you of something?
A television show?
Yep. Do you know which one? Wouldn't you like to get away where everybody knows your name?
Dun, dun, dun. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. So a shout out and rest in peace to George Wendt. He passed away. I believe it was yesterday, but he was Norm from Cheers, but he was also a big, he was one of those Bears fans, those super fans, the Bears and stuff like that back in the late 80s.
He was a beloved character. He really was.
He really was. And you don't see too many shows like that anymore. I feel like social media with our phones, we're kind of like locked in, but I feel like going to like your neighborhood bar used to be like your social media back then. It was like, that's how I can talk to, some friends either from work or from wherever. But like, we're going to go sit around the bar, BS and,
So I've always wondered about that. Like I saw that depicted in movies where guys after work would go to a bar and they'd just hang out and get trashed and whatever. And that's what Cheers really was.
Sure, yeah.
Have you ever done that? Like, did you ever, were you ever a regular?
When I was never a regular, no. When I was younger and didn't have as many, family/work responsibilities, you could kind of just, you just had your college job or your college hobbies. It was kind of like, I'm just going to go to the bar, grab a drink, I'll meet some friends, and then, boom, that was it. So like we do that a couple times a week in college or maybe like slightly out of college. But like once you get a little bit older, have some more responsibilities, or, some people that might have families, some of those people that might have families might want to escape to the bar as well. But I think there's definitely always going to be those regulars. I've been to several watering holes where you walk in and you're like, every time I'm here, that same guy's here. So
on that same seat.
Is it a coincidence that every time I'm here, which is 3 times a year, that guy's there, or is it he's just here every day? So I
almost want to establish it and just try it out. Go maybe 10 or so consecutive days to the bar and pull up a seat and see if I can join the family.
I mean, would Deb be okay with that?
No, she would absolutely not. And I will tell you, alcohol at home is way cheaper than the bar.
It's a lot cheaper. Yeah. The markup is not quite as high. So no, I agree. I like visiting a bar now and then here and there, especially to get out with some friends and stuff like that, but not, you going every day. That takes, it's just like anything. Moderation, right?
That's right.
Everything's great in moderation.
But if you can go to a place where everybody knows your name, that's a good feeling.
100% agreed. All right, let's switch to another story. This is happening in Ohio. This was up in, let me make sure I get the story right. This was in Northwest Ohio. So a 24-year-old suspect enrolled at an Ohio high school. I believe it was Perrysburg High School. Allegedly posing as a teen for more than a year. 24 years old. The suspect even played on the school's JV soccer and swam on the swim team.
For sure. You want to dunk on it? Like you wanted to have like the 4.0 and embarrass those punks.
Oh yeah.
That's what you do.
That's why it always made me think, like, well, as soon as I read this story, I was like, pretty much every movie that's ever been made about high schoolers has starred like 24, 25-year-olds, like Varsity Blues and John Tucker Must Die or Teen Wolf, stuff, you know, and
Billy Madison.
Yeah, exactly. Any movie you could ever think of. Like most of the 16, 17, 18-year-olds they're portraying are like 24, 25. This is going to be a whole separate issue. This kid was, I don't really know.
What was the reason?
You know what? I didn't get into the weeds of the story. I just read kind of the shortened article, but I have a feeling some school administration is going to get in some little bit of trouble.
They might want to check on the actual age of people before admitting.
I was going to say, I don't know if he had like a forged birth certificate or even how the enrollment process was, because if you're 18, you would think you'd have to have a legal guardian present with you, but who knows? But very interesting stuff out of Perrysburg, Ohio.
Schools are super safe right now. And
Perrysburg, Ohio is a very nice district. I would kind of compare it to a Boardman or an Austintown of Youngstown. It's a bigger district.
Did he get arrested for doing something wrong once he was there? How was he discovered?
I might have been like an ICE case or something where, you know, I think this this young adult is going to be probably deported, I would think.
Does he pass for 16-year-old?
I mean, he looks younger. But I mean, I think there's some like 16-year-olds that could probably pass for 25, and it's probably, you know, the reverse on that too. There's probably some older people that can pass for you know, I wouldn't say he looks super young, but I wouldn't also say
he's got a baby
face, you know. Yeah.
I don't want to be an ageist, but he looks a little older than, you know, junior high or so.
But being 24 years old and still being on your JV team, I
bet you he dominated them. I'd love to see a game where 24-year-old playing soccer.
If you could go back, like, okay, so I've kind of, I think my days of playing competitively are over. Like, I can still get out there and shoot a basketball as well as I could when I was, like, you know, in my mid 20s, but I don't have that athletic ability. Like, I can't get up and jump like, you know, 15, 20 inches like I used to. Now I can get off the ground about like 6 inches probably.
That's respectable.
But you know, but like, if you could go back and dominate a sport, what would you do? Baseball?
100%.
I was gonna say
baseball.
I feel like you'd be a baseball
Heck
guy.
Yeah.
So.
Although, like, I played a couple of softball rounds, and my sprint to first is way slower than it once was.
You got to be careful.
I pulled a hammy once just running to first base, and I thought, man, this is disappointing.
Yeah, you don't want to pull a hammy or like pull a Deshaun and like bust out your Achilles.
Just running to first. And I bet you, like, if in my brain I was running like the Flash, but I bet you it was like a slow motion. Name an old aged person. I don't know. Joe Flacco. Running the first.
I for some reason what the Clint Eastwood sprang to mind. You think Clint Eastwood could get out there?
You know who would be a good analog? In Happy Gilmore, the big dude when he was running after.
Yeah.
That's the dude.
Yeah, that guy played James Bond villain back in one of the early movies.
But you know how he ran really heavy footed. That's me right there.
I believe that jacket belongs to Mr. Gilmore. So good. Speaking of old guys, Bill Belichick, 73. Is apparently engaged to Jordan Hudson.
Congratulations 24. To that couple.
Do you think that's cool? Do you think that's weird?
Totally cool.
I mean, so we're talking about a 49, 50-year-old or 50-year.
They're both benefiting equally.
Okay. That's, I agree. Yeah.
And it's true love for sure.
There's no doubt. 100%. Yeah. I mean, she's really got her hands locked into North Carolina Tar Heel football. So.
For sure.
But I told you this story once before, I think. My buddy who went through a divorce, he had a rule where it was like he could date a girl half plus 7. That was his theory he came up with. So he was, I think, like 38 at the time. So he was like, okay, 19 is half plus 7. So 26. He could date a 26-year-old. You know, and for him, that would have been a 12-year difference. I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, we all know people that have married younger people or dated younger people, and I think that's cool. I think that's respectful as long as everyone's, you know, cool with it. But 50 years is quite a lot. That's Hugh Hefner territory there.
There should be a rule that you can't date younger than your children. So if you have a child that's in their 30s, then you have to at least date 31 or over.
That's a good rule. Okay. All right. Maybe we'll put that in the Constitution next year. What do you think about NFL football players eligible to play in the flag football in the 2028 Olympics? Do you think that's cool? Do you think that's good?
What's the overlap in this season?
Well, it's going to be in the summer, so I would. That's a good question. I would imagine the Olympics are usually in July. It's like bleed into August, which will be right during training camp. So that's an excellent point I didn't even think about.
So these guys carry so much financial liability for their teams.
Yes.
It's good to represent your country, but man, you got to cover some insurance policy in case you do something that gets you injured. Like football's not like, I can see basketball that the rate of injury is way less at like career ending injuries.
100%. Yep.
So I don't know that I would take my
This is flag football.
Still.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're still cutting. There's still somebody from another team that were like, hey, I could totally knock out a superstar in the NFL too, like take his legs out or go for a headshot or something. Even if it's flag football, there's still contact.
If I'm an owner, I'm making sure that there's insurance coverage there. If I have to go fetch somebody from, free agency or whatever to cover an injury because of the Olympics, like I want to make sure that if I didn't just drop $100 million on a, running back or a quarterback that he's not playing.
I would also like to see the non-superstars get a chance too. It's like, maybe if it's like a low level NFL player, or if it's like, maybe guys in the CFL or college football that
100%.
Maybe will never make it to NFL, like let them have a chance to go win a gold medal.
Yeah. And I really wish, and Olympics aside, that the CFL and some of these alternative football leagues, that instead of it just being a washout league where it's, people who concede into playing football and they're not really respected as such, that I really wish there was some more cooperation between the leagues so that you maybe went there as almost like a triple or double A or something like that. Triple A.
Oh, hey, it's all right. You're off camera anyway. Yeah. So that's good. So, all right, let's get into a few things else here. So, researchers claim radar scans from the archaeological site. Archaeological. Thank you. That was the bourbon talking there.
Yes.
In Turkey, is the fully preserved Noah's Ark real or bullshit?
Real.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's one of those things. I hope it's real. I don't know if it is, but I think that would be really cool if it was.
Hey, have you ever been down? I think it's Kentucky that has a recreation.
No, but I have seen images of it though. Yeah, apparently the real life size of what Noah's Ark would have been.
I have to share something that blew my mind because it wasn't what I was expecting. You hear about the Noah's Ark story, and they took the animals 2x2. On this recreation, there are freaking dinosaurs on this recreation. There are freaking dinosaurs on Noah's Ark. I never once ever pictured donkeys and, freaking dinosaurs.
So when would Noah's Ark have actually happened?
2,000 years ago?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, ish, right?
Dinosaurs
went extinct.
They're on there.
Million.
They're in crates. Like they have 3 levels of recreation of the type of animals that were out there. They showed you like the system of dumping refuse and watering and whatever. Never would I've expected that they had freaking dinosaurs.
They're also drinking a lot of bourbon down in Kentucky.
Tons of bourbon.
All right, moving on. All right. A former Bush administration official said that the U.S. government has spent trillions of dollars building underground cities and systems of tunnels in the event of an apocalypse.
100%.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So now I have seen the show Paradise, which is out. That's a Hulu show. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. It's a really good show. It's a quick, easy watch. You don't have to be totally locked in. But they build, spoiler alert, an underground city in a mountain in Colorado. And without giving any more away, it's kind of a good thing. I've also heard about the Denver airport conspiracy where there's like underneath the Denver airport, it was over budget by like $1 billion or something. It's like, where did that money go? Apparently, during one of the an attack when Obama was in office, that's where he went, underneath the Colorado airport in Denver. So I don't know. I think that's there's always and I know you're really into the Doge stuff and stuff like that. That's probably where a lot of these misappropriated funds have gone or been funneled to. A lot of these black op.
Well, would you want your government to be able to plan for an apocalyptic thing where at least a portion of the population is saved?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool to, in Sweden or wherever that is, they save all the seeds underground. Like every seed, it's kind of like Noah's Ark. They save like every seed of every plant that they can get for if there was a life-changing event where then they could regrow that stuff.
Do you think it would be easier to start lobbying for inclusion in the survival group and try to get in the tunnel and underground city?
I think there would be absolute mass chaos and a lot.
Let's do it now. Let's start lobbying now, so we're on the list.
So the problem with that kind of stuff is like you're only going to get your 1% of the 1% in there. You know what I mean? So like someone that has $100 million, that's a lot to the 99% of the world, but that's nothing to billionaires.
So okay, money aside, they're gonna take population or people from the population that have a skill set, something. If they were going to repopulate the earth, you've got to bring something to the table that says you're the one that's going to procreate to create, add to humankind. What do you think you bring to the table where you'd be asked to the underground bunker?
I can make people laugh.
Okay, so you're a jokester. I don't have height, and I think honestly I would be judged based on my stature.
Okay.
So they don't want any 5'5" people roaming.
Yeah, but you know tech. You could bring a tech knowledge if there was
physics, tech, engineering. Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Well,
yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm pretty good at working with people. Like, I used to be a teacher. I could work with the kids there. That would probably be some of my best attributes. I'm like math, science wise. I'm probably not bringing much to the table. I can do basic math.
I think I'm ahead of you in line.
Yeah, you probably are. Yeah.
We got to start developing.
Because they're gonna be like, well, a lot of people can work with kids, and we're gonna bring down this 25-year-old better looking female that can help repopulate the earth.
I would like you to use ChatGPT, and I want you to write up a resume for inclusion in the underground bunker.
That is a great idea that we should put out there on social media. Like, write up your reason to get into and in this city, in this show, they included 25,000 people in this city. That's all that's what they could sustain. So
here's my recommendation to you. I want you to survive too, because I like you, Justin. But I think you should do like Cal and grab a kid and you walk up to the lifeboat and you say, "I'm all she has." And then you will get in. You just need a very cute kid and you practice it. I'm all she has. You got to do it.
Well, I got two of those at home.
There you go.
Okay.
There's your in.
All right. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Well, moving on. We have about 5 more minutes before I have to wrap up. But Black Mirror, we're going to go in depth, and I keep pushing this back. We're going to go in depth on Black Mirror in next week. But I do want to talk to you about some of the tech that's in this.
And I freaking watched the whole season even before you recommended it.
Perfect. Okay. So here are my top 5 episodes. None of them are in this current season. This season was really good. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was kind of really above average. But here are my top 5 Black Mirror episodes in no particular order: San Junipero, Nosedive, Shut Up and Dance, Hang the DJ, and The Entire History of You. So these are the movie posters that they put out on IMDb for this series. If you have not watched Black Mirror, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. It is fantastic. If you're someone like Joe that's really into tech, or you're just someone that's into really good TV building drama that's also that's got like some fun, some comedy, but a little bit of darkness to it, this is right up your alley.
Did you like the little thing on the temple?
I do. And that was called Eulogy. But there was also the USS Callister that had that they go into the video game that's immersive. But like one of my favorite ones, let me find it here. It is called The Entire History of You. They have that as well. So like, here's a real quick write up of my top 5. And this is in, again, no particular order. San Junipero, when Yorkie and Kelly visit, and this is without spoilers, when Yorkie and Kelly visit San Junipero, a fun-loving beach town full of surf, sun, and sex, their lives are changed totally. So that's just a basic premise.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Shut Up and Dance. When withdrawn, Kenny stumbles headlong into an online trap. He is quickly forced into an uneasy alliance with shifty Hector, both at the mercy of persons unknown. Very interesting. Nosedive. This one's one of the best ones, I think. A woman desperate to boost her social media score. You get rated on a score in this. Hits the jackpot when she's invited to a swanky wedding, but the trip doesn't go as planned. Very interesting. Hang the DJ. Paired up by a dating program that puts an expiration date on all relationships. Frank and Amy soon begin to question the system's logic. And then finally, the entire history of you. In the near future, everyone has access to a memory implant that records everything they do, see, and hear. You need to forget a face again, but again, is that always a good thing? So those are my favorite ones. I'm gonna go back to that, but it is a wonderful show. I just want to put that out there, but I thought we would end with that. But next week, I know I keep pushing it down the line, but I'm on a pitch count today, so where I got to close out. But let's go a little bit more deeper dive on this next week. So
do you have any show recommendations? I need a new show to watch.
Okay, so I put a couple on here. Let me find it. Okay, so this weekend, The Last of Us season finale is closing out. I've mentioned the show Adolescence. It's only 4 episodes. It is a one-take thing throughout the whole show. It's amazing. Your Friends and Neighbors. I just started it last night. First episode, an absolute freaking banger. And then The Righteous Gemstones. If you have not watched that, it pokes fun at like kind of the mega preachers, stuff like that. But it's hilarious. Huge cast in that. John Goodman's in that. A lot of big names.
I'm gonna do Adolescence. That sounds like a nice...
You would like Adolescence, but I'm telling you, if you have Apple TV Plus, go watch Your Friends and Neighbors.
Absolutely.
I'm only 1 episode in, and I'm already hooked. So it
gets even better.
It really is good. So we're gonna end there, but plenty to talk about next week and going forward. But appreciate you guys watching. Again, this is a Youngstown Studio production. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Really helps us out. If you listen on a podcast, go and give it a recommendation on any of the shows. That really helps the algorithm, helps us out, all that good stuff. And make sure to follow my show as well as Youngstown Studio on social media. So for Joe, for BJ in the back, and all of us down here at Youngstown Studio, I'm Justin Coffin. Everybody have a great weekend.